Comprehensible input explained. Many people have assumed that my children, my two sons, were bred abroad. So when they hear them speak, they say, "Oh, have you traveled out of Nigeria before?" And my first son says, "No." And they ask again, "Okay, maybe you..." I think the first question is, were you bred abroad? Did you grow up outside Nigeria? They say no. Then they ask, "Have you traveled out of Nigeria?" They say no. And then they assume that it is the school. So they say, "Which school do you attend?" Then when my son says, "I'm homeschooled," that is where the banger comes. Because the people they are speaking to cannot understand how they can be that fluent when they are in a country that is not native English. But I understand. And mostly I smile. I smile not because I am doing a good job. Yes, I'm doing a good job. We are doing a good job with them, but I don't smile to that question because of that. I smile because I see the desire in the heart of that person asking. I see that wish for the fluency for them, or for their younger self, or for their children. And that is why I'm here today, to give you this secret to natural English fluency. Last week, at least throughout last month, we did speaking frameworks. And I want to be sure that to a point, you now understand speaking structures. I promised you we're going to have speaking structures, and we did. So we have moved on now to getting better in English language. And today, I want to zero in on comprehensible input. Have you heard this term before? What does it exactly mean? Those people I talked about that look at my children and they say, "Oh, I wish my children are this fluent." Now, I want to say that it is not talent, it is not intelligence, it is not school. It could be any of these for some people, but basically it is how the language is learned. How is it learned? I want to introduce one of the most important concepts in English language learning. So if you're just joining me, you're welcome. I am Salome Lajide-Bwari, the TheSENTEducator. Let's dive right in. All right, so comprehensible input simply means language that you can understand, even if you do not understand every single word. It's very simple, right? Not language that is below you, not language that is too hard, but language that will stretch you a bit. That's how you get this comprehensible input. What do I mean? Okay, I'll explain. I'll explain better with an example. If I come on here and I start speaking in Idoma language, which by the way is my native language, if I speak that, you do not understand it at all. So I'm going to bring in confusion, right? But because you already understand English, I come with a slightly higher level of English that does not carry you along 100%, because there are some words that you will not understand, but you understand most of the words. Then you have to zero in to check those words you do not understand based on the context. Now, that is comprehensible input. And that's what I'm talking about. That's how simple a child, that's how simple it is. Not just a child, anybody can learn English, and not just English. It could be any language. It could be Mandarin Chinese. It could be Spanish. It could be German. If you want to learn that language and you want to gain mastery, what do? Introduce yourself to Comprehensible Input. Yes, I see you. You're welcome. When a child is exposed to reading books, visual programs in good English, listening to older siblings or parents speak to them in good English, I'll tell you this fact. They naturally, that's the word, naturally, they naturally gain mastery of the language. You don't start expecting them to understand only when you teach them concord, subject verb agreement. No, they pick that along the way. So even if you do not say, okay, I want to teach you this rule that every single subject must go with a singular verb, you might not sit them down to hear them, for them to hear you say that before they know that we should go with because we is a plural noun, plural subject, and then is a plural verb. You don't wait for them to get that. They already get it. So when they hear a sentence that is not correct, they know because naturally they imbibed the sentence structure. Are you getting me? Yes, hello, welcome everyone. Yes, so I'll tell you this fact that nobody sits them down to introduce grammar rules to them like present tense or subject verb agreement. Slowly they absorb these patterns naturally. Their brains are receiving understandable English repeatedly. And that's a key word, repeatedly. Your brain gets soaked in understanding language, and it has to be repeated. I'll tell you why it has to be repeated as we go on. Now, last semester, I was teaching my university students, and when we got to that topic of grammar rules, when I was talking about concord, basically, I didn't sit them down to say, okay, now the rules of the language. When you get this, you do this. Every when you use the word every, this is what you do. I didn't sit them down to make them cram the rules. Now, don't get me wrong. Grammar rules are very important. They help us understand the structure of the language, right? And they help us know what it is that is expected, and help us know the expectations, and we're able to apply. I always talk about application. But if you really do not know the rules, but you know how to use the language, you have an advantage. You have an advantage. You have an edge over someone that has memorized all the grammar rules but cannot use them in context. Are you getting my drift this morning? And that is what I want you to know today. It's very simple. It's a secret. Yes, thank you. I see your comments. Isn't that what my students have been doing all their lives? Right from primary school to secondary school, and then they're in the university, and I expect to spend one whole semester teaching them what they already know. No. If you're my students watching this, you know that I love practical immersion. So there's a particular task I always give my university students. Go to the market, go to the transport workers, go to people in the university community and teach them the language. How? They go with placards. I think I'll post some on my feed later today, so you see what I mean. Check my YouTube channel later today, and you'll see some of those clips of my students going around and taking cardboard sheets, showing people. All the people they are showing are not students. Some of them might not have a good grasp of the English language, but they go teach them and use those words or those punctuation marks or rules, whatever it is they have been assigned, and they teach them practically. And that is when those students themselves can be sure that they understand what it is that they are teaching. Do you understand my point? And I know you're following, right? So please say hello hello in the chats. Welcome. I want you to do this. Get some other people to come learn with you. Tell them that the TheSENTEducator is dispersing the secrets to natural English fluency this morning. So let's learn together. Click the like button right now. Click the share. Move it on to your WhatsApp status. Move it on to your stories. Move it everywhere and let them know that they should be here to learn to get more fluent in English. All right? So if you've done that, can you say done in the comments? And then we go. I have a question. Why do some people improve rapidly after moving to another environment? They improve rapidly in English language speaking or in any language speaking when they move to another environment. It might not even be the environment of the native speakers of that language, but maybe people in that environment speak that language better. So when they have stronger communicators of that language around them, they naturally start speaking better. They naturally understand the language better. It's how the brain was wired. It's how it works. So if you claim that you really, really want to learn English and be a master, and you are not engaging with the English language, then there's an issue. When last did you read a book? When last did you listen to a podcast in English? When last did you engage with a movie for language learning's sake? These are the factors that can help you know that you are actually on the path gaining mastery of the language. Surround yourself with good communicators, strong communicators of the language you want to learn. And in this case, I'm talking about English. I've taught English for about 15 years, and I know what I'm saying. I know that this is a secret, comprehensible input. We can do comprehensible input through books. And remember, if you're new here, check my YouTube channel feed. You would see some videos I did using books to teach the different levels of attaining language mastery. And we can use books, actually. If you are struggling with basic English, you don't suddenly start engaging with high academic material or high philosophical material. It won't get you anywhere. Why? Because it is not comprehensible input. It is incomprehensible input. You do not understand. It's going to sound like jargon to you, right? Now, jargon is not necessarily jargon does not refer to mistakes. Jargon does not refer to bad language. No, jargon refers to language that you are not able to relate with. So if a doctor is speaking and the doctor is using so many medical terms and you do not understand, it is jargon. It is medical jargon. It is medical register. And I treated register in one of the videos earlier, right? So how can you use books? Get a book that is slightly above your level. Get a book that is slightly above your level so that you understand the English language, yes, but there are some words that would get introduced to you in the process. And that is our goal, so that you are able to understand some of it, know that there are some things that you need to check up. And that is how you sustain growth. That's how growth is sustainable. Same thing, if you really want to get a child to have mastery of English language, give them good children's novels. Give them good children's TV programs. Now, I don't subscribe to introducing them to just anything on the internet just because they want to learn English. Please censor what you give your children to watch. My family, myself and my husband, we do not let them watch just anything. We censor the material. We download the videos that we want them to watch and we put it on a flash drive, and that is what they watch. We know the content so that we know it's good for their emotions, it's good for their learning, it's good for their mind, it's good for their spiritual state. Then we know the quality of English. There's a particular video that we had to delete because the English was not okay, although the content was good. What the person was teaching was very good, very informative, but the English was not okay. I didn't want my children to copy that English, so we had to delete that video. Right? So please censor that. So don't say the TheSENTEducator said I should introduce my children to TV. That's why they are on the screen morning till night. I didn't say that. My children do not stay glued to the screen morning till night. We have our set time, we have boundaries, we have clear rules as regards screen. But I know that introducing your children to good materials on screen could help their language learning. So be discerning when you pick things you want them to engage in order to grow their mastery of the language. Now, a place where you are exposed consistently to language, to the ideas, to structures, to conversations can help you stretch your thinking. Comprehensible input is not cramming. Comprehensible input is not cramming. Let me give you a practical example. If you have a word, procrastination. Procrastination. You learn the spelling. You learn how to spell it, yes. Then you cram it. Procrastination is the act of moving things, and then you are expecting that you will be able to use it in a conversation. You might cram the word and memorize the word from morning till night. And when that opportunity comes for you to use that word, you forget because you crammed it. But if you get introduced to the word in context, if you get introduced to the word while someone is speaking, saying, I missed that deadline because I procrastinated again, it automatically sits in your brain, in your hippocampus. You're able to transfer that meaning. It's a meaning-making exercise. You're able to transfer the meaning of that word unconsciously, effortlessly, naturally. That's the essence. Naturally, you are able to transfer that word, the meaning of that word, naturally to your hippocampus. Hippocampus is a part of your brain that stores information and makes it into memory. It turns information into memory, and it's like a permanent shelf. That's how you get a word there. Use it in context. There's a principle, a brain-friendly principle that says use it or lose it. Now, you don't stop at comprehensible input. There's also what we call comprehensible output. Comprehensible output. If you learn it in context, you use it in context. Understood? Oh, I understand, but that's how I see it. So it's okay. Thank you so much, Denise Blue, for bringing that to my attention. But just know that this is comprehensible input, right? This is procrastination. Okay. This is a live session, so I cannot actually do all those video editing, manipulations, and all that. So great. It's also the same if you are learning a word, the meaning of a word like flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. If you memorize the meaning of the word, you might miss. I'm not saying you shouldn't introduce yourself to meanings of words. I do that. When I was young, I would just take the dictionary and start looking at words and start learning words. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes I just cram them. And when the opportunity comes, somehow I get to remember but it doesn't come natural, right? And that is why there's a particular word like DIDI. It wasn't a word that I was familiar with in my environment, but I got that through deliberately checking the dictionary. When I saw it, it was my first class I was teaching after graduating from the university. And I told them, hey, don't call me auntie, call me Didi. And up till now, some of those people from that year are still calling me Didi after like 15, 14 years also. They're still calling me Didi. But I'm so proud of that word because I found it myself. Do you know what that is? For you to find a word, and anytime I see that word, I just have this personal relationship with the word. Like this is my word. And that happens with other words as well. I have some of those words in chunks and clusters that came out of personal discovery. You have this beautiful relationship with them, and it helps you learn better. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, now, how do you create comprehensible input for yourself? I want to be practical, very practical right now. And if you want to write, this is the time to. 1, listen. Listen to English slightly above your level, not something that is too low, not something that is too easy. You are in level 5 and you want to listen to level 1 because you want to learn English. No. You should listen to something higher, something closer to your level, then something higher, right? So you're in between, not too easy, not too hard. Get that? Listen to English slightly above your level. 2, read with understanding, not ego. So, do not go about with a book that you do not relate with, you don't understand at all. It's too high. And then you are taking it around. I didn't say that Diary of a CEO is too high. No, it's very good. We can all relate. I'm just giving an example, okay? Don't get books to impress people. Get that? Don't get books. You don't choose books because you want people to look at you with the book and say, wow. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way for you. It may work for others to admire you, yes, but if you do not understand the content so much, why are you parading yourself with that particular material? Read with understanding. Read for understanding, not ego. Thank you very much. Listen to English above your level. And 2, read with understanding, not ego. Number 3, repeat exposure. Do not engage with that particular word and just leave it and say, after a while, you say, I'm not able to remember all those words that I learned, even when I was using it in comprehensible input. It's not working for me, and then you leave it. No. Once is not enough. Repetition is key. Repetition leads to neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a concept of the brain that helps neurons get stretched. The more your neurons get stretched, the better you're able to link up information. Neural connections having information will get strengthened. The more they are strengthened, the more information would stay. But when the neurons get disconnected, they grow weaker. You want to learn more about that? Register for my brain-friendly course. All right, let's move on to combine listening and reading. That's number 4. Combine listening and reading. If you are listening to a podcast and you are able to put transcripts on, please go ahead, do that. If you're engaging with a YouTube video for the sake of learning, right? It can be a conversation. I like listening to the Diary of a Podcast not the podcast now. There are a CEO podcast, but on YouTube. I like going through those videos because I learn a lot from it. And sometimes I pick some words used in context. Okay, so if you're engaging with that, turn the subtitle, the subscript, turn it on so that your brain is listening, absorbing, and your brain is reading. So you're absorbing in two different ways. Do you understand that? So you absorb with your eyes and you absorb with your ears at once. It helps your brain retain more information. Yes, combine listening and reading. When you're doing that, your brain begins to connect the sentence structure consistently. And 5, on over stop obsessing over every single word. You see a word and you say, let me go and check the dictionary. And when you come back, in that particular sentence, you have 3 words that you do not understand. Or yes, you might understand, but you do not know the meaning, so you want to check. I know that I said you can get new words from reading books. And if the book is not too high for you, you should be able to guess the meaning as you're reading. What I do is I use highlighters, I use pencils to mark the words so that as I read it and I see it in context, later I can check the meaning. Because if I have to stop my reading to check the dictionary every 4 seconds, I will lose the flow and eventually I'll get tired and I'll say, it's not working for me. I am after killing those excuses, killing those things that would make you not want to improve your English, improve yourself. Remember, this TheSENTEducator's channel is to help you upgrade in your thinking, upgrade in your speaking and writing, and in your personal development, your thinking skills. Or if you want to upgrade, you want to be a better version of yourself, this is where we do it, and this is how we do it. When I look back, when I check in retrospect to see how I have grown in the English language, it is not just because I'm exposed to materials that help. It is not just because I'm an English language teacher. And it is not just because I learned in a classroom. No, all these could apply to you as well. But you see that you're still learning. So what is the secret? It is repeated exposure. Reading good books that are not too low and not too hard, not too easy and not too hard. Surrounding myself with strong communicators and engaging with good content. Of course, not just books, but videos, visuals, and podcasts for my auditory perceptions as well, so that I'm able to sustain my growth. That is what has sustained my growth in communication so far. Your brain learns language partly by immersion. Immersion is you dipping yourself. Imagine you go into a swimming pool and you just put your toes in the water. Meanwhile, you came there to have a good time. You came there to enjoy yourself. You cannot enjoy yourself in the swimming pool without immersion. And you cannot learn language well without immersion. Yes, you can start by reading a few things, by getting some words, by even using apps, but immersion is best. Immersion, speaking the language with people that understand it, listening to it firsthand. That is what I mean by that. So the quality, your question is not, how do I speak better? The question is, what do I feed my mind? What do I feed my mind? Because remember, I always say that the quality of what you speak and what you write is a direct output of what you take in, what you consume. What you produce linguistically depends on what you consume. What is the quality of what you take into your mind through conversations, through books, through listening, in in engaging your daily life? What do you feed your mind with? Right? So, what are you consistently feeding your mind with is a question I'm going to leave with you. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that yet. Share this video with other people that have like minds, people that really want to grow and want to get better. And if you are joining me from any other country that you really want to get people around you to learn English, let's do this. Every Friday, we're here, West African time, 8:30 a.m. 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Aderuku Pelumi, thank you so much for joining. Lily's View, thank you so much for joining. Afolabi Deborah Temidun, thank you for joining. Octavus Olympio, thank you for joining. Haida, thank you for joining. Everyone that joined today, and for those of you that are going to be watching the session later, I'm so glad that you're able to spend some minutes with me today. I am here as the TheSENTEducator to help you speak better, think better, lead better, and show up in the world better. So see you again next week, Friday.